Hey there, it's Imran, and you're watching Imran Plus. The third installment in the Ant-Man trilogy, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, comes out in theaters in just a few days. With early reviews coming in, it's time to recap Scott Lang's journey in the MCU from former convict to beloved Avenger. So, here is everything you need to know before. In the upcoming Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp find themselves exploring the quantum realm, interacting with strange new creatures, and embarking on an adventure that pushes them beyond the limits of what they thought was possible. When we first meet him in the 2015 film Ant-Man aka Scott Lang is a thief with a well-meaning heart who has just been released from prison. After his release, Scott lives with his friend and former cellmate Luis in San Francisco. Scott is divorced and has a daughter named Cassie with his former wife named Maggie. Scott loves his daughter very much and does his best to be a good father to her. Maggie's current fiance is a detective named Paxton, who does not approve of Scott's irresponsibility and inability to adequately provide for Cassie's child support. Scott tries to find a job, but his criminal record prevents him from keeping one. After a brief stint at Baskin-Robbins, Scott decides to join Luis's crew and commit a burglary. They break into a house and crack open a safe, discovering nothing of value other than what appears to be an old motorcycle suit, which Scott takes home. Scott tries on the suit and discovers that it has the ability to shrink down to the size of an ant. Scott is rattled by his experience and goes back to the house to return the suit. However, as he makes his exit, Scott is caught by the police and arrested again. It turns out the owner of the house and shrinking suit is Hank Pym, an entomologist and physicist, as well as a SHIELD consultant and researcher. Hank Pym created Pym particles, subatomic particles with the power to increase or decrease the mass, as well as density and strength of an object. Hank developed a suit that could harness the power of Pym particles in order to apply their properties to the person wearing the suit, and thus Hank became the original Ant-Man. Operating as Ant-Man alongside his wife Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, Hank conducted secret missions for S.H.I.E.L.D. One such mission was to stop a Soviet Union missile heading toward the United States. However, with the missile already in the air, the only way to stop it was to shrink to subatomic size between the molecules of the internal mechanisms of the missile. With Hank's regulator having incurred too much damage, Janet sacrifices herself by turning off her regulator and shrinking to subatomic level, sacrificing herself to save millions, in turn becoming trapped within the quantum realm. With no way to save Janet from the quantum realm, Hank retired as Ant-Man and founded Pym Technologies, vowing to never use his shrinking technology again. In 1989, Hank discovered that Howard Stark and Mitchell Carson from S.H.I.E.L.D. had tried to recreate his original designs, resulting in Hank resigning and turning his back on S.H.I.E.L.D. Currently, Hank's former protege Darren Cross has been working on developing a shrinking suit of his own, called Yellow Jacket, and is close to perfecting it, which worries Hank. So, Hank and his daughter, Hope Van Dyne, develop a plan to steal the Yellow Jacket suit from Darren. Hope has been working with Darren undercover at Pym Technologies this whole time in order to spy on him. And it turns out that Hank and Hope also orchestrated for Scott to steal the Ant-Man suit in order to recruit him into their plan. Hank and Hope train Scott, and during this time, Scott and Hope develop a friendship, and Hank finally reveals to Hope what truly happened to her mother. He warns Scott that the same thing could happen to him if he were to override the suit's regulator. Scott has a brief run-in with Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon, when he steals a device the team needs from Avengers compound. This comes into play later when Sam Wilson recruits Scott Lang to join him and Captain America to fight the other Avengers, but we'll come to that later. Back to the events of the first Ant-Man movie, Darren finally has perfected the Yellow Jacket suit and hosts an unveiling ceremony at Pym Technologies headquarters. Scott infiltrates the building with a swarm of flying ants and attempts to steal the Yellow Jacket suit after planting explosives and sabotaging the servers. However, he is caught alongside Hope and Hank by Darren, who had suspected their plan. Darren plans to sell the Yellow Jacket and Ant-Man suits to Hydra. Scott breaks free and he and Hope neutralize the Hydra agents. Scott then follows Darren into a helicopter while Hope and Hank escape the building before it implodes due to the explosives. Darren, having donned the yellow jacket suit, fights Scott and they both crash land at a pool party where Scott is arrested by Paxton. Darren then lures Scott back for round 2 by taking Cassie hostage in her home. During their fight, Scott chooses to save his daughter over himself and overrides his regulator, shrinking to subatomic size in order to sabotage the yellow jacket suit. This causes it to shrink uncontrollably, presumably killing Darren, while Scott disappears into the quantum realm. While there, he is somehow able to reverse his shrinking and escape the quantum realm, the first person to ever do so. Appreciative of Scott's bravery, Paxton lets him escape the scene to prevent him from being taken back to prison. Sometime later, in Captain America Civil War, the Avengers are divided over the Sokovia Accords, the two sides being led by Iron Man and Captain America respectively, with Iron Man wanting the team to sign on to the Accords and Captain America disagreeing. Captain America and Falcon reach out to Ant-Man to help fight Tony and his team in order to catch Bucky before they do. Scott joins Captain America in their battle, going against the wishes of Hank and Hope. During this battle with the Avengers, Ant-Man demonstrated his suit's ability to enlarge to gigantic size, which helps Captain America and the Winter Soldier escape. Ant-Man and the rest of Captain America's allies are then arrested and imprisoned in the Raft by Thaddeus Ross, a S.H.I.E.L.D. prison. The heroes are later freed by Captain America, most of whom join him on the run, but Scott takes a plea deal with the FBI in order to stay with his family and is put on house arrest. 2 years later, during the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Hank and Hope open a brief tunnel to the quantum realm after months of work and research. They feel that they might be able to reach Janet in the quantum realm after Scott was able to successfully visit and return from it. Unbeknownst to him, Scott had actually become quantumly entangled with Janet, so when Hank and Hope open their quantum tunnel, Scott receives a message from Janet in his dream at the same time. Scott reaches out to Hank and Hope about his dream. Hope and her father are upset with Scott for his involvement with the Avengers, which resulted in him losing his Ant-Man suit, but still respond to his call and kidnap Scott, replacing him with a large ant so as not to set off his ankle monitor and arouse the suspicion of FBI agent Jimmy Woo, who you might recognize from WandaVision. Hank and Hope believe that the message from Janet is confirmation that she is alive, so they all work together to build a stable quantum tunnel in order to travel to the quantum realm and retrieve Janet. However, they need a specific part for the device and must arrange a deal with black market dealer Sonny Birch in order to buy it. Sonny, however, realizes the potential profit from Hank Pym's research and double-crosses them. Using the Wasp suit, Hope fights off Sonny and his men before being attacked by a quantumly unstable masked woman, aka Ghost, who escapes with Pym's portable and shrunken lab. In order to try and locate the lab, the trio travels to UC Berkeley to visit Hank's estranged former partner Bill Foster for help. Bill helps them locate the lab, but upon arrival, Ghost captures the trio and reveals herself to be Ava Starr, the daughter of Elias Starr, another of Pym's former partners. Elias and his wife died during a quantum experiment gone wrong many years ago, which caused Ava's unstable state. Ava gained the ability to render herself intangible and generate extreme amounts of power by involuntarily harnessing quantum energy. It's revealed that Bill Foster has been helping Ava, who is dying and in constant pain as a result of her condition. Bill plans to cure Ava by using Janet's quantum energy, now that they know she is alive thanks to Hank's quantum tunnel. However, Hank believes that this will kill Janet, so he escapes with Hope, Scott, and the lab. Back in the lab, Scott is able to establish a stable connection with Janet, who communicates with them via Scott. Janet gives them precise coordinates of her location, but also warns them that they only have 2 hours before the unstable nature of the quantum realm separates them for a century. Meanwhile, Sonny forces out Hank's location from Scott's business partners, Luis, Dave, and Kurt, and informs a contact at the FBI. Luis warns Scott, who rushes home before Agent Wu can see that he has been violating his house arrest. Hank and Hope, meanwhile, are arrested by the FBI, which gives Ghost the opportunity to steal back the lab. Scott helps Hope and Hank escape custody, and they find the lab. Scott and Hope distract Ghost while Hank enters the quantum realm in order to retrieve his wife, Janet, whom he finds alive. Scott and Hope are chased by Sonny and his men across San Francisco, allowing Ghost to regain control of the lab and begin extracting Janet's quantum energy. With the help of Luis, Dave, and Kurt, Scott and Hope are able to escape Birch and his men and stop Ghost. Hank and Janet return from the quantum realm safely, and Janet Janet voluntarily gives up some of her energy to Ava to temporarily stabilize her condition. Scott then rushes back home once again just in time for a now suspicious Agent Wu to release him at the end of his house arrest. Ava and Bill go into hiding while Sunny is arrested. Sometime later, Hank, Janet, Hope, and Scott are working on a way to harvest quantum energy in order to help Ava remain stable. While Scott is in the quantum realm collecting energy, the other three turn into dust as a result of Thanos' snap, which erased 50% of all life across the universe. This brings us to the events of Avengers Endgame. 5 years after Thanos' snap, a rat just so happens to step on a button that activates the quantum tunnel, allowing Scott to escape and return to Earth. Scott quickly realizes that although he only experienced 5 hours in the quantum realm, 5 years have passed in the real world when he finds that his daughter, Cassie, is now much older than he left her. This is a major realization for Scott and would likely be a major catalyst and plot point in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. With proof that time works differently in the quantum realm, the Avengers deduce that time travel is possible. Tony Stark develops a way for the Avengers to travel back in time in order to collect Infinity Stones from throughout history in order to bring back half of all life that was wiped out by Thanos. In the process, a past version of Thanos discovers their plan and replaces present Nebula with past Nebula, who upon returning with the Avengers to the present time, brings Thanos and his army to the present via the time machine. Kind of confusing, I know, but the main point is that a massive battle ensues and the Avengers are able to defeat Thanos after Tony Stark sacrifices himself in order to obtain the Infinity Stones and use them to wipe out Thanos from existence. Scott is reunited with his family, as is the rest of the world. And that brings us to the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. We'll pick up on Scott and his friends after the events of Avengers Endgame and follow their adventures into the quantum realm. Now you know everything you need to know before watching Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you're most excited to see in this upcoming movie and what you think this movie will mean for the future of the MCU in Phase 5. Be sure to like this video and subscribe, click that bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and don't forget to share this video with your friends and fellow movie enthusiasts. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.